Nature builds soil by dropping organic matter on the ground and putting organic matter in the ground and building the soil year after year after year, richer and richer. If you go out to a forest, pull back the dry leaves on top and look at the leaves that fell last year and the year before and the year before that, you'll just see that it's rich, what the English garden writers often refer to as leaf mold. It's a halfway to compost leaf. It's chocolate brown, crumbling apart, and that's rich stuff. And every time that it rains, the water percolates through that, and as those nutrients are being released from the organic matter, they're made available to the roots. And so you can see the roots growing through the dark material at the forest floor, because that's the rich stuff. It's like compost tea. You know how you can put compost in a bag and dip it in water, turn the water brown, and use that water to fertilize your plants and water? Well, that's kind of what happens on the forest floor, and over time it just gets richer and richer as a place for plants to grow and thrive. In a meadow, the same thing happens. Grass roots live for about a year, and then a new root is generated from the crown of the plant, where the top of the plant and the roots of the plant come together there at the soil surface. A new root is generated out of there to grow down into the soil, to push open a chamber, and then it dies, and that material that it leaves behind decomposes and releases its nutrients. Earthworms move through there, microbes start working on it to break it down, and over time, with those roots being pushed into the ground and living and dying, it just builds the soil richer and richer. And so when we look at soil organic matter, it has a number of benefits. First of all, it helps build the soil structure. Now, as master gardeners, if you think back to when you had a soil class, there was soil texture, which is sand, silt, or clay, and then there's soil structure, which is the way those particles clump together to form something that's either real dense, that air and water and roots can't move through readily, or that's loose and airy, and so it takes water in well, it drains excess water away, and it allows oxygen into the soil, and roots need oxygen to survive. And you take a heavy clay soil, put organic matter in it over time, and you build a really good structure to your soil. And therefore, air can move in, water can penetrate, so when you get some rainfall, you get a little more of it into the soil, and it's able to hold on. A sandy soil can't hold water very well, it just runs right through. But with organic matter, it's like little sponges in the soil that help hold on to that and then release the nutrients as it decomposes over time. When we add organic matter, we increase that sand's water holding capacity and nutrient holding capacity by continually putting that compost into the soil. And we need to do this over time, because we burn up organic matter faster than we make it here in the South, because it's so warm and our growing season is so long. It acts as a pH buffer, making the soil a little more forgiving if pH gets a little out of range, because those nutrients are being released. And they're often in a form that the soil doesn't tie up right away. We call that chelated, in that the nutrient doesn't just tie up to the soil and become unavailable, but it's more available for the plant for a period of time. And organic matter has nutrients in it. Every time you have something that was once a plant part that dies, you have a decision to make. Are you going to keep it, or are you going to pay somebody to take it away? About 3/4 of the nutrients that a tree takes up during the year are in its leaves. And so when those leaves fall on your property and you bag them up and have the trash man take them away, you're just giving away free organic fertilizer. And organic fertilizer that's in the blend that your plants want. Because to make a leaf, it takes a certain amount of manganese and zinc and iron and phosphorus and potassium and molybdenum and all the different nutrients, and in the right quantities or ratios to form that leaf. So when that leaf falls to the ground, that's the perfect plant food, because it's the right ratios of all those nutrients that'll then rot and release them to your plants. If you bag your grass clippings, you're just renting fertilizer. You buy fertilizer, put it on the ground, grow grass clippings, cut them off, they're full of nutrients, you put them in a bag and pay somebody to haul them away. That's just renting fertilizer. When we think about the value of those clippings, if you were to weigh your clippings and send them to the lab and say, what pounds or percentages of nutrients are in these, and then multiply that times all the mowings you do through the year, your lawnmower puts out more fertilizer by far than your fertilizer spreader does in your yard. So it just doesn't make sense. You don't see anybody bagging the meadow or raking the forest to get rid of that organic matter. But somewhere back in time, we decided we had to do that, and so now we still are in that process. It's kind of like crepe murder. It's one thing that happens because it happens, and there's no good horticultural reason for it. So we want to release those nutrients back into our soil and take care of them. So you should never let a leaf or a grass clipping leave your property. Grind them up, use them as mulch, put them in the soil, compost them, do something with them, and take advantage of that free organic fertilizer that nature uses to build our soil naturally.